is Oromo Voice Radio English program. Oromo Voice Radio is broadcasting to Oromia at 16-meter band or 17,850 kilohertz or on oromovoice.org website. OVR broadcasts Oromia Insight program every Monday for 15 minutes at 7:15 p.m. Oromia local time. Welcome to Oromia Insight program.
Welcome to Oromia Insight. My name is Ali Galato. Our guest today is Professor Assafa Jalata with me to discuss about Oromo protest and the impact. Assafa Jalata is Professor of Sociology, Global Study and Africana Study at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, USA. He is teaching in the research expertise focused on area of Oromo study, global study, development, international equality, social movement, nationalism, terrorism study, indigenous study, human rights, race, and ethnicity. Welcome, Professor.
Welcome.
What is your assessment on Oromo protest so far?
My assessment of the ongoing Oromo protest movement is preliminary and tentative because it's not yet complete. It is ongoing processes. We are going to learn a lot about this movement soon. So it is tentative what I'm going to say now. Generally speaking, the ongoing Oromo protest movement is going for more than 4 months. And it still continues in different parts of Oromia. It erupted in Ginchi near Ambo on November 12, 2015, and shortly covered all Oromia like wildfire. For the first time, the revolutionary flame of Oromuma has tied all Oromo branches together to take coordinated action to defend their national interest and their human rights. This protest movement was triggered by opposing land grabbing policies and the selling of Oromo forests in Ginchi and the so-called Addis Ababa Master Plan. The opposition to this master plan triggered a nationwide opposition to the Tigrian terrorist regime, and it is Oromo servants known as the OPDO. Through the accumulated experience of the past 25 years, the Oromo people have realized that the Tigrian colonial elite, with the help of Oromo mercenaries, have been expropriating Oromo land and other resources and transferring to themselves and their domestic and global supporters. In these processes, the Oromo people have become alien in their own country, and Oromia has been owned by Tigrians. Consequently, the Oromo people were impoverished and lost hope. Educated Oromo have become jobless, while most Tigrians are dominating and controlling the political economy of Oromia and Ethiopia. The Tigrians who were suffering from poverty and famine in the 1980s have become millionaires and billionaires. The Tigrian colonial elites have been transferring famine to Oromia and other regions by expropriating the land and the resources of Oromo and that of others to themselves and their servant and the global masters. At the same time, the Oromo national struggle that started in the 1960s has been penetrating the psyche of the Oromo people. This struggle has been revitalizing the Oromo national culture, history, and identity. Consequently, Oromo nationalism, or what I call national Oromuma, has blossomed and become a revolutionary flame. We can also say that national Oromuma or Oromo nationalism has become a revolutionary volcano that has erupted all over Oromia. The Tigrian fascists and their Oromo collaborators or mercenaries who used to think that the Oromo people were a collection of tribes who could be used as raw materials and the firewood cannot understand the essence and nature of the current Oromo protest movement. They still believe that by beating, torturing, castrating, lynching, decapitating, raping, and murdering Oromo students, farmers, educators, and merchants can stop the Oromo struggle for statehood, sovereignty, and egalitarian democracy. The Oromo activists and revolutionaries are inclusive and inviting all peoples who are suffering under barbaric Tigrian colonialism and their global masters. All national groups that have courage and the bravery to join the ongoing Oromo struggle can determine their respective destinies in the that of Ethiopia. Ongoing Oromo protest movement has opened a new chapter in the history of Oromia and Ethiopia. This history is written by Oromo blood, and the relationship between the Oromo and their colonizers has been changed forever. However, The final chapter of this history is not yet written.
How is the Ethiopian government holding it together despite opposition?
The Tigray-led Ethiopian government has no domestic political legitimacy, as all of us know, and it survives by dividing and conquering the largest national groups, namely the Oromo and the Amara. The opposition groups or organizations and the liberation movement do not have adequate financial, military, and diplomatic support from powerful countries, and therefore they are very weak. The big powers and the international institutions such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund support the Tigrayan-led Ethiopian government financially, militarily and diplomatically. On this part, the regime is a mercenary force for big powers in the fight for them in Somalia, Sudan, and other countries. It is heavily paid for this service. So, for the last 25 years, the regime overused the rhetoric of democracy, federalism, and development while establishing Tigrayan colonialism and the dictatorship and grossly violating human rights. The lies and the propaganda of the regime have been exposed where it started to enrich Tigrayans by dispossessing Oromo land and the land of other peoples by the name of development. When Tigrayan colonial elites have monopolized political and economic power in Oromia, the Oromo society has continued to be impoverished. The absence of strong opposition organizations in liberation fronts and the lack of unity among these forces have allowed the regime to survive. For sometimes, some people also bought the propaganda of the regime and remained passive for more or less. The determination of the regime to further dispossess the Oromo land through the so-called Addis Ababa Master Plan and other land-grabbing policies in order to enrich Tigrayans by transferring Oromo resources to them, and the attempt to give a final political solution for the Oromo question have facilitated the emergence of the current protest movement. The current Oromo protest movement emerged without a strong political and military organization. Furthermore, political and military strategies, tactics, and revolutionary actions are needed to overthrow the political economic system of the Tigrayan government. What is going on in Ethiopia is very complex now. Although it is difficult to exactly predict when and how this government will fall, it has started to be rotten from inside. And the Oromo protest movement is intensifying this crisis in the regime. The current prime minister, who is a placeholder or who is a puppet for Tigrayan elite, has only symbolic power over competing Tigrayan warlords who are telling him what to say by ordering him from behind. The state that emerges from 5 million people cannot continue to control, exploit, and dehumanize about 95 million people. It's only survived by sheer military force for the moment. Since the TPLF chiefs, even afraid their own shadow, they are brutal and fascistic to maintain the power and the privilege that historical accidents awarded to them. This regime might even cause the disintegration of the Ethiopian empire through its terrorist and genocidal policies before it will be overthrown or it will be disintegrated. The Oromo people and others have no choice except preparing themselves for all possibilities. The ongoing Oromo protest movement has destabilized the regime, but the regime survives by sheer military force that has been financed by global powers such as the USA, England, and China, and the international institutions that I've already mentioned, such as World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Since the ongoing Oromo protest movement defeated the OPDO and its security networks, now 11 Tigrayan generals rule over Oromia under the martial law. There is no semblance of law and order in Oromia and beyond. The Tigrayan military force known as Agazi, the police and Tigrayan security networks are massacring Oromo, whom they think that they are politically conscious. They are also beating, torturing, castrating, raping Oromo girls and women, and capturing and sending thousands of young Oromo into hidden prisons and concentration camps. This kind of government cannot stay in power for long. It is a matter of time that this government is in power.
What has changed as a result of Oromo protest?
This is a very interesting question. Many things have been changed as a result of the Oromo protest movement. The Oromo people have restored their national pride, patriotism, and the bravery that they enjoyed between the 16th and the mid-19th centuries. During these centuries, the Oromo had their republican government and the Zagada CK system. They had a formidable military organization. The Oromo had no mercenaries who joined the enemy to fight against them because they successfully defended themselves from internal and external enemies during this century. Biya Oromo, that we call today Oromia, was sovereign, and no enemies exercised their political power on them. Oromo protesters have proved to all that the Oromo are one people or one nation that can determine their destiny. Young Oromo protesters are equipped by the ideology of national Oromoma, which has uprooted the division that the enemy of the Oromo created among different Oromo branches. Some Oromo elements that have been suffering from the internalization of victimization are forced to start to rethink about their Oromo national identity in the Oromo national struggle. Particularly, the Oromo diaspora are learning about national Oromoma and rallying behind the Oromo national struggle in Oromia. Oromo mercenaries and opportunists who have been evicting Oromo farmers from their ancestral lands by joining the Tigray fascists are shocked and they started to feel national shame. They are not sure what to do now. The Oromo protest movement is demonstrating that it can destroy Oromo intermediaries or mercenaries who work for the enemy at the cost of the Oromo nation. That is why the Tigrayan fascist junta has replaced the OPDO in Oromia. The Oromo are practically showing that they cannot accept submissive and subservient leaders that the enemy created for them. They only accept leaders who have struggled on behalf of them, calling the names of Oromo heroes and the heroines who have sacrificed their precious lives for them as OLF leaders and fighters. Oromo protesters show the Oromo flag and they say the OLF is our leader without any fear of intimidation from the TPLF government and its OPDO servant. Fear and intimidation have been totally disappeared from Oromo society as a result of the protest movement. Globally and diplomatically, the Oromo protest movement has won world attention because of its political maturity, determination, inclusiveness, and for totally disproving the ideology and the political program of the Tigrayan-led minority Ethiopian government. Since Oromo protesters only have targeted their enemy, diverse national groups in Ethiopia have somewhat changed their attitude toward the Oromo people and their national struggle. What is amazing is that many Amara elites who used to suspect and hate the Oromo struggle have become neutral or sympathetic to the Oromo activists and protesters. Many of them have openly denounced Tigrayan state terrorism and invited their fellow citizens to join the ongoing Oromo protest movement. Oromo protesters have practically demonstrated that they struggle to establish a democratic system that will exercise the principle of national self-determination and egalitarian democracy that are in line with the democratic tradition, their democratic tradition. Overall, all Oromo who lost hope in their national struggle have restored their dreams of liberation, freedom, and democracy. Furthermore, people like the Sidama, Hadia.
This interview will continue next week.